Hi there, everyone. My name is Christian Eschbach. Welcome to another one of my album reviews. And as this is review 180, it is time for a little Canadian content. Rush. Test for Echo. Alright, so I bought this one when it came out brand new. Of the Rush albums from the 90s, not including Roll the Bones. Because believe it or not, I still actually do not own a copy of that album to this day. My dad had a copy of it, so I always borrowed it, and we're not going to cover that album. So, not including Roll the Bones. This is probably from the 90s I listened to the least. But, for no bad reason. It's a Rush album. I mean, you could argue that there are bad Rush albums. It could be argued. It'd be hard to argue that this is a bad one. It's not one of their best. But it'd be hard to argue that it's a bad one. I mean, yeah. Alright, so let's get into this. First off, you got the title track, Test for Echo. Good tune. Good solid tune. Opens up the album perfectly, sets the mood, sets the sound, lets you know exactly what's going on. Now, I should mention, if I didn't mention, this album is from 1996. We just got out of grunge. I mean, grunge was still kind of going at that time. There was a lot of kind of fluff music going on at that time. And this is also when Manson and Zombie are starting to really kind of take hold. Metal was in a weird place. 96, same year I believe that we got Load from Metallica. We know how people feel about that. It's a weird time for music, 96. And this album was weird to go with that, because this album was kind of a ray of shining light almost. Like, I just don't ever, I couldn't ever see Rush doing a dark album. I mean, at this point, they never will do a dark album. But I can't really see Rush doing a dark album. And this album, I mean, there's sometimes points in here where it gets kind of dark, but it's not. It's really kind of a ray of light for album. And Test for Echo kind of kicks that off. I kind of like that they go kind of Hoth-ish, sort of. I know it's not, but to me, that's what I think of as Hoth on the back there. And then you have the front there with the Nook Shook, and can't get much more Canadian than that, I think, right? Driven. Good tune. A song that they still continued to play live even after this album, And that's the thing. To me, that's why I say this isn't that bad of an album. Like, I know some people are going to talk some crap about it, but when you think of how many songs off this album carry through onto live sets years, and honestly, you can say decades later, nothing to complain about there. Driven's really good. That opening line, man, that opening guitar for Alex, that's awesome, and just getting into it there and getting going. And then it, just sings in that nice cruise kind of thing, it's kind of cool. And I really enjoy Driven. But to be honest, I'm surprised that they continued to play it live, other than maybe to let Alex kind of, let loose and remind the world why, he is one of the most underrated guitarists of all time. After that, we get to Half of the World. Half of the World goes exactly to what I was talking about that warm, loving ray of sunshine, that peace, that hope. And you could easily go the other way, but I take Half the World as, honestly being Hope. Hope. That's how I take it. And then you get to The Color of Right, and that kind of continues along the same theme to me. Continues along the same ideas, the same concepts, and just about really the betterment of man. And that's a concept you find in a lot of Neil Peart's lyrics, that he is very much about mankind trying to better themselves, and you know, miss him much. After that, we get into Time and Motion. When I was just listening to the album before I went to do the review, I remember why I both like and dislike Time and Motion. I like Time and Motion because it's really kind of, well, to me, it's the first song on this album where you kind of get that Rush, that classic Rush time signature changes, like really noticeably. Like, yeah, they're obviously in there in Driven, and they're in there in some of the other ones. But Time and Motion, I mean, come on, look at the name of the song, right? And this is the first one where you notice some real old school kind of Rush. But at the same time, there's a lot of that kind of, I want to say 80s-esque Rush that I'm not big on. That Time Stands Still. That's kind of where I go with that, Not to say that it sounds like Time Stands Still, but that kind of period, It's got the awesome arrangements you want to hear and the time changes and this and that, but then it also has that weird stuff that just doesn't work for me so well. Totem is a great song when the album's playing through. I'll be honest, I never really think of it when I'm just talking about the album on its own. It really isn't a big pop out. Dog Years. I love Dog Years. I know I've heard a lot of people talk some real smack about Dog Years over the years, and I really, really enjoy this song. I really get into it. I really get into just kind of the message behind the song. And if you're one of my regular viewers, I'm not a big lyrics guy. And to me, Dog Years is a lyrics kind of song. Just, it's really interesting because when this album was recorded, the band was, I believe, just getting into their 40s, maybe mid 40s, basically around the same age I am now. And, they're definitely, this song, you can kind of hear that whole reflection kind of thing. But when they're talking about Dog Years on this song, it's kind of like, how it all goes by so fast for them, when they're out there working and they're, slaving like a dog, doing those dog years, it's all gone, and it's gone in a blink, and you just kind of realize, So for me, it's kind of interesting because, I am, at the same time, I'm kind of at that point in my life as well now, right? Where, you blink and you realize, wow, I did all this, especially, like for me personally, if you're one of my regular viewers, especially through Confessions of a Domestic Engineer, you've heard me talk about my life and a lot more, where I get into a little more personal detail. And I was with the same woman for 15 years, and that ended, and we raised 2 kids together, one of which still lives with me. And even though both my kids are adults, so it's not, when I say that, I don't mean it bad in any way whatsoever. If you watch Confessions, you'll understand I'm cool. But that was a whole different section of my life. That's a part of my life that's still continuing in my life now. But that's a whole section of my life that's just, at this point, even, that ended, I think, like 5 years ago. So it's just, and I mean, like, I think it was like my 5th anniversary of my divorce, it was like a week or 2 ago. Well, at the point, by the time you watch this, almost a month ago. Anyways, so dog years kind of gets to me that way. I understand it, kind of. You just realize that things are gone all of a sudden in an instant. Like it's like, wow, that was so long ago, and you know. Then you get into Virtuality. One of the songs I like when I listen to the album. Once again, it's like Totem. When I'm not listening to the album, I really don't think of the song so much. It's not a bad tune. It's just it's a Rush album filler, if you get what that means. Then we get to Resist. And Resist is brilliant. Uh, if you are a Rush fan and you've watched any of Rush's concerts, basically since I think this album's come out, um, or I think they took it out of the set list for a little while. They took it out and then they brought it back in. They always do it just as an acoustic duo, though. They don't perform it with the full thing. And one, it gives, I believe it's usually done after Neil's drum solo. So, it's basically Neil's chance to take a break. But Resist is a great song. It is wonderful. The message behind it is fantastic. Once again, this album, in what was a very dark, gloomy kind of time, was very positive and uplifting. It was definitely meant as a beacon for hope. After that, we go into Limbo. Limbo, instrumental track. Oh yeah, we got Rush doing some instrumental stuff, having a little fun. And it's a good tune, man. It almost feels like it's a jam. Almost. And that's what's so cool about it. Like, there's a good part of me that wants to say that Limbo was them sitting in the studio, screwing around, playing some stuff, and then they came across this great little riff, and, being the seasoned professionals they got this great sound, so they fine-tune it down and whatnot, and they create this cool... But it really does sound like this really awesome jam to me. And it's beautiful that way. It's like... The one thing that is always great with Rush when they do instrumentals, especially when they not necessarily like big grandiose ones like La Villa Stanziato, but when they do the tighter, more compressed ones, like Limbo is definitely much more comparable to, say, YYZ. Not to say that it's YYZ, let's be very clear, folks. YYZ is YYZ. But Limbo would definitely be more comparable to YYZ, and the fact that it always sounds like this great spontaneous jam where they just get out there and they go at it and they're having times of their life playing. And just enjoying being in each other's company. And, I've done that myself as a musician. I was in a band that we base most of our stuff off of jamming. So I get the idea of having that great solid jam, and it works wonderful. It's great. And then the album finishes with Carve Away the Stone. I'm not sure how I feel about this one closing out the album. I don't know if... Actually, Test for Echo probably would have... To me, it was a great opener. Was probably the only song on the album I would say could properly have closed out the album, where I would have been happy with it being the closing track. That being said, Carve Away the Stone is a good tune. It's a solid tune. It's a little kind of mellow. To me, it feels like it kind of feels like they had that one last song and they weren't sure what to do with it, so they threw it on the end of the album. That's kind of what it feels like to me. Once again, though, it's a good song. I like it. I enjoy it. When the album's playing through, it's like, yeah, okay. When that album ends after that one, I'm like, oh, that's how they end the album. Right, okay. And it always kind of, because it doesn't have that big, great... I like a solid ending to an album, and, it doesn't have that solid ending. The whole way around. This album was produced by Peter Collins and Rush. Would I recommend this album to your basic music listener? Maybe. the thing with Rush and recommending Rush albums is Rush really is got time periods. And you have to know someone's Rush period taste to know how to recommend an album. You also have to know how much they enjoy Geddy Lee's voice or don't enjoy Geddy Lee's voice. That makes a huge difference as well. Now, for those that really don't enjoy Geddy Lee's voice, there's a lot of Geddy Lee's voice. I personally, I don't think I've listened to the album. I mean, prior to doing the review, I hadn't listened to the album in a while, probably a few years. And when I got it, I listened to it a lot. So I didn't even give it a proper listen through before I did the review. I did a quick playthrough so I could remember all the songs really quickly because I listened the hell out of this album when it came out. This would have been even, I think, my last year of high school when this album came out. Yeah, so it was, I know it. I know it well. I know it very well. And I'm going to probably give it a solid listen through maybe sometime in the next year or two. But it's only because there are other Rush albums I'd rather put on before this one. That's all it is. So, those are my thoughts. Those are my opinions. That's what the comment section is for, so you can share your thoughts and your opinions with me. Let me know what you think about this album. Let me know what the next Rush album you'd like me to cover is. I'm honestly interested in what some people think about this album. Because I usually hear more negative than I hear positive about this album. And either way, I just kind of want to see where other people go with this one. Otherwise, like button, subscribe button, that really helps me out. Kind of helps you out a little bit too. That way you can find out when I got new videos coming out. There's a notification button in there too to make sure you get the notifications when I, and then there's the share button. You can do that. Sorry, guys. Also, there's the Patreon link below. If you can click on that, sign up there, do a thing there, throw a coin to your Witcher. I got to stop using that line. I like the line, but I'm going to stop using that one. Maybe. I don't know. Anyways, folks, peace, love, take care.